You want to know the secrets of the world's most beautiful gardens, like how to turn your backyard into a work of art, create an Asian-inspired or edible garden, or even capture the grandeur of some right rural residences. Hello and welcome to Secrets of Beautiful Gardens. Are you in for an absolute treat? Throughout the course of this series, we are not only taking you on an insider's tour of the most beautiful gardens in Australia, but we're going global. We're going to show you all the secrets and the creation of some of the world's most spectacular gardens.
So whether it be a huge manor estate or the tiniest of green spaces in an urban environment, we're going to show you the very best of horticulture, landscape and design. And with that wealth of knowledge, you'll be able to build your dream garden, no matter how big or small or wherever it is.
And once you know all these secrets, the impossible becomes possible. Today we bring you luxury gardening on a majestic scale, and it's all just a little bit fancy.
Get ready to pick your jaw up off the floor as we visit the most breathtaking grand estates in the country. And this is a great piece of Australian history.
We take you inside the gardens of celebrities, icons, thoroughbred racehorses and the very, very lucky few. This garden is one of the biggest and the best in the country.
And while most of us can't call these grand estates home, we'll show you how you can recreate some of this timeless charm at your place. It is stunning, but if you break it down to material after material, it's quite achievable.
Because after all, a rose, no matter where it's planted, will still smell as sweet. We all like to escape from our lives every now and then and see how the other half lives. Well, the first garden we take you inside today is really the epitome of grandeur. Luxury on this scale can transport us into a whole other world. So you'd be forgiven for thinking I'm visiting the manor of a British aristocrat, but I'm actually just outside Adelaide in South Australia. Though no matter where you are in the world, when you're heading to a place with this much heritage and pedigree, it definitely pays to arrive in style. Thank you, Peter.
Hello, Graham. You've made it. Welcome to Carrick Hill.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. Carrick Hill is a magnificent 40-hectare estate perched high in the foothills of Adelaide. Built in 1939, it was the home of Sir Edward Bill Hayward, son of a prominent merchant family, and his wife, Lady Ursula, the daughter of a family with both pastoral and mining interests. Today, the estate is owned by the state and run by the Carrick Hill Trust. Coming off the grand driveway is this huge, welcoming terrace filled with geraniums and lots of flower rugosa roses. And up the back there, a very rare and unusual shrub, Iochroma, with its deep cobalt blue flowers. Everything here is really tough. When it came to the garden layout, Ursula was the designer and also the hands-on gardener, and she had an absolute love of all things English, which would flow through the house out into the landscape. From the front of the house, they've used these beautiful lawn terraces to accommodate the slope. And it all has a grand view over the city of Adelaide and St Vincent Gulf beyond. At its peak, the gardens here at Carrick Hill boasted some 1,300 roses. Ursula didn't just like her roses, she loved them. So much so that she'd go down to Adelaide to the Rose Society exhibitions and find out what were the gold medal winners and get their names and get them propagated and grown, and here they are. To add to Ursula's legacy, in 1990, 20 years after her death, a whole new heritage rose garden was planted. And today, head gardener Neil and his team look after the estate. But it's not just any old rose garden, it's filled with famous Australian legendary rose breeder, Alistair Clark roses.
Yeah, Alistair Clark was one of the first famous Australian rose breeders, and it was decided to honour him and Ursula.
So what does it mean to you, Neil, to work in a garden with such incredible heritage and with a home, a great Australian heritage?
It's a great honour, actually. I take a lot of pride in what we do here. You know, this place belongs to the people of South Australia. The Haywoods are very generous and they bequeathed it to the state.
Yeah.
So we try and encourage the general public to come up here and enjoy it as much as possible.
Absolutely. And in keeping with the English tradition, there's a beautiful cottage garden with its pretty sweeps of cottage plantings, all protected by a neatly clipped Monterey cypress pine hedge. Underneath these magnificent elm trees, it takes you to a very unique feature here at Carrick Hill, a beautiful pleached arbour where the trees are trimmed and trained really tightly onto a frame. Now in England, in the stately homes, they would be hornbeam or lime. But no, not here. The Haywoods actually chose fruiting pears, and they're starting to fruit right now. A true Aussie treasure. Carrick Hill House and Garden is appreciated by thousands of visitors every year. A fascinating glimpse into a long-lost bygone era. But when you come here, you can still feel that amazing spirit right till this very day. What a magnificent historic garden. One of the things I learned about Lady Ursula, she was so passionate about her flowers, she had a special room built just for flower arranging inside Carrick Hill. Now that is a grand estate. She would also create spectacular arrangements of cut flowers from the garden and send them to Sydney so artists could paint them. Some of those works are still in the Manners collection to this day. That was Lady Ursula's way of bringing the gardens inside so she could enjoy it all year round. Now, the flowers might fade, but those paintings, well, they'd last forever. Later, the jaw-dropping grand estate that's a labour of love. It is truly a design masterpiece.
And how to bring a little bit of grandeur to your garden. Everything new is old again. Up next, the historic grand estate with gardens to die for. It is stunning. Welcome back. Now, a wise man once said they don't make them like that anymore. And when it comes to this next grand estate, they're spot on. A property with a magnificent pedigree, this luxurious manor estate was first settled in the mid-1800s in the lush dairy country of the Shoalhaven region. Over the last 170 plus years, the house and its grounds have gone through its fair share of ups and downs. But in the last decade, this spectacular property has found a new lease of life. Way back when Australia was first settled, the real money was in fertile soil and plenty of water, because you could build an empire from that. Now, times changed, people moved to the cities to make their money, and those grand mansions that were left behind either completely disappeared or fell into disrepair. But I'm off to see one that's still standing, Terrara House, near Nowra on the New South Wales south coast. Recently, it's been a very popular wedding venue. Not hard to see why. Originally, Terrara was built by the Demistry family, who were pretty serious with their horse training. But the beautiful sandstone house was actually built by a local bloke called Hugh Mackenzie. Built in 1904, this place would have made quite the statement. And this amazing piece of history was all built by Kate's great-grandfather. Hi, Kate, how are you?
I'm very well. Lovely to see you.
What a piece of history your family has.
Isn't it a wonderful place?
You must be full of pride when you see Terrara House looking like this.
Seeing it like this, because I have seen it looking very, very sad. And it's beautiful. Absolutely magnificent.
As grand as the house is, I'm really here to see the garden. Now that is one serious front lawn. But there's heaps more out the back. Let's go back to the beginning for a minute, because these stables are the oldest dwellings existing on the property, and they're pretty special as well. They're heritage listed because they were the home to 5 Melbourne Cup winners, including the first one, which was Archer. Wow. And when you look inside and see how beautifully they're finished, no wonder they were happy horses and ran fast. Oh, no, hang on. Yeah, later on they were converted into accommodation. But I'm sure the horses were happy with the view. For the last 10 years, Terrara has held over 700 weddings, and a lot of them have been held in this hedged courtyard. It is stunning. But if you break it down to material after material, it's quite achievable. It's just hedged walls of conifer, simple kikuyu lawn, and then these parterre gardens of buxus. The iceberg roses? Well, I don't know if they'd steal the show from the bride, but they definitely set the scene. So, start planting at home, you might have a couple of weddings coming up. Back when the house was built, the veggie garden was probably built first because you had to feed the staff and you couldn't just run into town and pick up some groceries. It's all hedged off with Leighton green conifers. That's to stop the cold wind blowing in and frost damaging all these fruit and veg. There's a couple of things you can take from something as big and as grand as this and apply it at home. The first one is raised garden beds. It means you can put really rich organic soil in there, know that you've got plenty of drainage, and also work on the garden without bending your back. The second thing, the garden walls, well, they double as seating when you need a breather. And that means you can admire the water feature. Now, if you look at this garden and your jaw hits the ground and you think, I'll never have anything like it, the planting you can buy in nurseries any day of the week. Now, a funny little story. When the house was finished, this timber building was meant to get knocked down. It was the workers' quarters where they got out of the rain. It's an old schoolhouse that they moved here. It was only temporary. But old Hugh Mackenzie thought, waste not, want not, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm going to tie it into the building. And these days, it's the homeowner's favourite room. And that brings us back to the front of the house with that very clean and simple avenue of buxus and lawn, and the dairy cows off in the distance. Across the front, you've got very formal gardens, buxus, hedges, lots of iceberg roses, and these port wine magnolias. So Terrara is a classic garden on a grand scale, but you can borrow the ideas here for the princely sum of nothing. The thing I love about this place is while it's grand, it's not over the top. You know that saying, less is more? Well, the front lawn is a perfect example. What I also love is how the estate was designed to have the more detailed gardens close to the house, leaving the picturesque landscape to roll away from the house and blend into the countryside. By keeping it open, they borrow the views of their neighbour's dairy farm. They can see for kilometres, making this already grand estate feel even more lavish. So to make your place feel a little bit bigger, borrow the landscape from your neighbours and include that in your design.
Next, the absolutely magnificent estate that's part of Melbourne Cup history. This place is also home to one of the finest gardens in the nation. Welcome back to the show. Today, Jason and I are taking you on a private tour of some magnificent grounds of some of the most lavish estates in Australia. Now, Jason was lucky enough to visit Terrara House in New South Wales, the home of 5 Melbourne Cup winners. Well, anything he can do. I'm about to take you to the home of another Melbourne Cup champion, and this one is also a very grand affair. We're visiting a legendary place in Australian horse racing. Yes, it's Swenham Stud, home to the 2010 Melbourne Cup champion, Americain. But what you may not know, this place is also home to one of the finest gardens in the nation. Just 2 hours north of Melbourne at Nagambie, set along the Goulburn River, this commercial stud, owned by top breeder Adam Sangster, is 900 acres of horse heaven. But some bits, like the beautiful homestead garden, are definitely off limits to our four-legged friends. The formal terrace gardens are really quite grand. They were created in 1940 by the original owners. Now, it would have been a fairly boring slope down to the river, but they've created terrific interest by very simple terracing. Of course, you've got this wonderful framing of the river red gums, and then the whole terracing is lined with Italian cypress. But of course, it's the roses that steal the show. Many of the varieties are up to 70 years old. But there's also some newer roses from the end of the 20th century, like Just Joey. Fabulous colour, rich and beautiful perfume. I can see Double Delight, isn't it a gorgeous thing? And again, a beautiful perfume. These are all hybrid teas, and they're all standards. Now, they're underplanted with annuals. They actually repeat the planting 3 times a year, so it's always looking beautiful. At the moment, there's fabulous primula. So what's head gardener Rob's secret to getting the whole garden looking so good?
Bulk of the fertiliser is made out of the horse manure, of course.
Yep.
But we have a lot of spoilt lucerne here. So it's a mixture of the lucerne, horse manure, and we have a local winery that they give us their leftover grape skins and the seeds. And we usually cook that for about 3 months, turning it 2 or 3 times, and the roses absolutely love it.
Next to the very formal garden is a very informal area called the forest. And it's filled with majestic trees that were brought here to Australia from right around the world as tiny little seedlings. And of course, it's underplanted like a woodland with rhododendrons and calla lilies and beautiful bulbs and forget-me-nots. It's really a private botanic garden. It's not only the home garden and the horses that are thoroughbreds here, the stable and outer gardens are spectacular as well. When you arrive, your first sight is this beautiful cut-leaf silver birch, and it's surrounded by 4 magnificent rectangular beds filled with gold bunny rose. It's a strong, vigorous rose, one of the best standard yellows that you can get. Along the veranda of the long stables is a beautiful grape in full leaf, and of course some more roses still. The garden, Adam, is truly beautiful. Do you get time to spend in it yourself?
Yeah, Graham, we do. As a family, we spend a lot of time here. We entertain here. I got married here.
Oh, so beautiful.
We love coming up to this property.
I noticed you've got one of the original Melbourne cups.
Yeah, that fact, Graham, it's 3 cups in one.
How come? Well, this very cup has actually been recycled 3 times, awarded in 1980 to Belledale Ball. The same cup was used in 1953 and believed to have been first awarded back in 1930 to the one and only Phar Lap himself. Isn't that incredible? Now, time to meet our modern-day champion, 2010 Cup winner, Americain. What's he been up to since he won the Cup?
Well, Graham, he's certainly been a busy boy. He's been in North America, in Kentucky, breeding over there. And last year he came down to Swenham, where he got 153 girlfriends. And on the property so far, he's had about 45, 50 foals. And like the roses, he's got great bloodlines.
Yes.
And his foals are showing it. And I think in a few years' time, hopefully you'll get some Americain progeny winning the Melbourne Cup again.
Well, it's been fabulous catching up with him today, and terrific to see the gardens, and what a fabulous place. Adam, thanks for your time today.
It's great.
All the best. What a champion garden and horse. Mind you, when they brought Americain out, was I scared? An enormous horse of muscle, 5 metres tall. Good gracious, very intimidating for a gardener, let me tell you. There is not enough money in the world that could have paid me to get on that horse to ride him. Mind you, I wouldn't mind a few bags of his horse manure for the garden.
Coming up next, the youngest of our grand estates. And it'll show you how to bring a sense of history to your backyard. I know you didn't. You made them yourself. Hi and welcome back to the show. Now, so far on this episode of Secrets of Beautiful Gardens, we've shown you historical properties that were built in a bygone era. Well, the next garden we're about to visit is the baby of the bunch, but it's been able to create a sense of history by some brilliant design techniques. So first, I'm going to have a look around this spectacular garden, and then I'm going to steal one of their clever ideas and show you how you can achieve that old world charm in your garden for a fraction of the price. Australia is known for being the sunburnt country, but there's little pockets around the place that are absolutely blessed with lots of rain and beautiful fertile soil. And one of them is a place called Berry. It's on the south coast of New South Wales, and it is one of my favourite places in the world. You drive round, it's steeped in history with beautiful old homes and established gardens, but not everything is as it seems. G'day, Chris. Kaz.
Hello, how are you?
Good, and you?
Yep, great.
Kiss the pretty one first, and just acknowledge you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, the first time I came here, the garden I thought was, well established, 100 years old, but how old is it really?
We've been here 16 years and we bought this block. No one really wanted it. It was a vacant block of land and we sort of picked up on it that it had a bit of potential.
So it's pretty much a paddock, a few trees around the border, that's about it.
Yeah, there was kind of swampy bit out the back.
It's truly amazing what Chris and Kaz have managed to achieve. Now, this was the boggy marsh.
When we had the machine in digging the house out, we dug a hole here too. Looking at it now, you can't believe it wasn't always here.
Lots of mowing to be done.
Lots of mowing.
Love the mower.
He loves the mower, doesn't he?
No, it was me.
Oh, nice.
Come on.
Good. You don't cut hair?
No.
I had to get it in there somewhere. He cuts his own hair.
I can't deny it.
He's pretty good on a hedge, but no good on hair. And your little bridge, perfectly reflected. It looks a little bit like Augusta. The golf course in America, which is one of the most manicured places in the history of the world. Now, you go to all the work of building a pond. It must have been pretty tempting to show the whole thing off because it's pretty grand in size. It might be 20, 25 metres long. But you've broken it up, and this one's planted out.
I pretty quickly learnt to buy things not by twos or threes, but by the dozens. And mass planting has been my friend and saviour.
We have always been drawn to gardens which kind of have elements that draw you in and take you somewhere. So it's like, oh, what's around that corner?
Well, my favourite room probably would be the pool room.
Ah, and that's not with balls, that's with water. Would that be right?
It is. Well, there's no roof. It's not like the castle. Come on, show me your pool room. And, of course, all your gates are just store-bought.
Yeah, not quite.
I know you didn't. You made them yourself. You buy these bits, don't you?
Yep.
And then everything else is welded?
Yeah, all the rest kind of flat bar, square tube. Just chopped up all the bits with a mate.
And that's rust paint?
Yeah, it's one of those 3 rust paints, and then
super safe. If a pool fence is 1.2, you've gone well above that.
Absolutely.
That bit's original antique, isn't it? And so is the window here.
Yep.
But this is a great room, the pool room. I noticed that there's a lot of brickwork here. It literally is like a room in the garden.
We always liked English walled courtyard kind of look. What we literally did is we took all the old bricks we had and we'd just mix them randomly. So it gives you this lovely kind of depth of character and colour and texture.
And this ficus is perfect as well. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but it's a green wall.
Yeah, and just softens it so there's not too much brick.
As the son of a bricklayer, there'll never be too much brick in the world. So this is your lounge, sort of dining, entertaining area. What's your favourite part of it?
I think the fire pit. You get a starry night, sit out here with a few people, lay back, look at the stars, look at the fire.
Yeah, it's lovely. Lovely to sit out here with friends and have a few wines and pizza.
Another trick, I don't know if it's just you haven't got to it yet or to make the garden look old, are things like using the door and not painting it.
I've always loved that.
It's
That
beautiful.
old look. I just like the way it weathers up eventually.
Despite being less than 20 years old, Chris and Cass's garden looks like it's been around for generation, and that's because of the materials and their plant selection in the design. Choosing second-hand bricks or sandstone that's imperfect is a great way to add history to your garden, because dead straight lines just didn't exist 100 years ago. Then don't seal things. Let your decks grey off. Let your pavers and sandstone dull off. It all adds instant heritage and pedigree. Plant selection will also help your garden feel more established. Don't go for the latest fab in plants, and at the moment, that's probably succulents. Instead, plant something that your grandmother might have loved, like buxus balls. They're super popular today, but they're still old school. And if you're working on a new garden design, look around your yard and see what established trees you've got, because they're such an asset, and work them into the garden. Because they say the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago, and the second best time is today. If ever a garden was full of inspiration, this would be the one. So many great ideas, and I'm gonna have to borrow one of them. Coming up after the break, I'll show you how you create some timeless grandeur in your garden.
But first, one of the grandest dames of Australian gardens gets a turn in the spotlight. The once very private estate of our very own Dame Nellie Melba. Welcome back to the secrets of beautiful gardens. There are few estates that have the pedigree and the star power of our next diva. The house and the garden is nestled in the Yarra Valley, and it's virtually a living museum of Australian history. The former home of one of Australia's first superstars, these sprawling romantic grounds have played host to international stars of stage and screen. And now I can finally count myself amongst its very lucky visitors. It's taken 100 years for this iconic landmark known as Coombe, the Melba estate, to open its gates to the public. Not that I've waited that long, but I have waited all my life. You see, Coombe was the home of Dame Nellie Melba, one of Australia's most celebrated opera singers. During her heyday, Dame Nellie was a massive international celebrity. And every celebrity needs an estate. Dame Nellie bought this one in the early 1900s. Enclosing the entire property is a massive cypress hedge. Now, the hedge itself goes for over 600 metres. There are 1,000 trees inside the hedge. But it takes 3 of the gardeners over 2 months to keep it looking so neat and unique. Then, of course, there's the Elm Avenue, 76 fabulous elms to create this brilliant vista. And then there is this oak. And what a spectacular tree it is. They say it's something like 180 years old. I believe it's one of the most magnificent English oaks anywhere in the world. But there's more than just incredible trees here. Check out the cottage garden. It's jam-packed full of fabulous flower colour. All the modern and old favourites, like these fabulous tall and elegant hollyhocks, beautiful spires of blue campanula, fabulous thrift, and right down to ground level, the ancient Jacobean lily. But to bolster the whole display, they've used a modern dwarf white agapanthus, and it just looks fantastic. But even the walkway is historic. You see, it's Welsh bluestone, and to make sure that it was shipped out to Australia and laid in the right order, every block is numbered in Roman numerals. Now, you'll have to take my word for it because they're on the underside. Melba travelled the world, taking her incredible voice to the 4 corners of the globe. And while travelling, she often collected fantastic artwork, like these 2 stags, which she bought in Rome in the 1920s. It's fitting because it's the entrance to the Italian garden, lined with majestic Italian cypress. And of course, no Italian garden would be complete without a fabulous big tree and a beautiful citrus orchard. Further beyond is a wonderful arbour covered with wisteria. Wisteria in those days would have been a great object of desire coming out of China and Japan, which had been closed for hundreds of years. And next to it is Victoria's first swimming pool. And no doubt every Hollywood star who visited here swam in the pool, including Charlie Chaplin. Along with the garden, there's a gallery commemorating Dame Nellie's life. Well, it's been an enormous thrill for me to be able to share this rare glimpse into the once very private estate of our very own Dame Nellie Melba.
I am seriously jealous. I would love to see Melba Estate in person.
Well, it was an absolute honour, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, I know a lot of people have been there before us, but you know, we were the first to film it in 100 years.
Now, it's hard to believe that she was the biggest star in the world for around 20 years, and presidents and world leaders, superstars would come and visit her and the garden.
Yeah, it was quite stunning. In fact, when you go there, and you can today, it's open, the house and the garden, don't forget to go to the loo, because when you sit down on the toilet, Dame Nellie bursts into Tosca. It's just perfect.
OK, but I think I'll stick to singing in the shower because I reckon I'd get stage fright.
You know, Jason, the house and grounds have been magnificently preserved.
Well, let's put some nostalgia and class into your garden. Remember the berry garden we walked around? Well, I'm going to show you how you can get that champagne look, but on a beer budget. By now you must realise I love a bit of rustic stuff, whether it be an old wine barrel, a slab of timber, or just using something because it's got rust on it. Well, did you remember those gates that Chris and Cass had down in Berry? They're spectacular, handmade by Chris. Now, if you had to go and get someone to do all that metalwork for you and then age it, it'd cost thousands. But I like the look, and I reckon I can do it for next to nothing. Now, I've got some wrought iron here. One panel like this isn't that expensive because it doesn't really match anyone else's. And I'm going to cut off a bit of the extras here and cut out the panel in the timber. Now, this panel is a pretty good fit. And I've got this other piece. It doesn't match, but they're all rustic, so it's fine. I'm going to cut into here, and I'm going to run a piece of timber through here. And by the time I paint everything up, it'll look like it was always there. The one thing you need to concentrate on if you want this to last a long time is preparation. But this being an old cedar door, I can nearly guarantee it that some of this paint is lead-based. We got rid of it in the late 80s, but it's pretty dangerous stuff. Get rid of all the flaky paint. It's great to do it outside in a ventilated area, as long as it's not a really windy day. I've got a disposable drop sheet on the ground so I can just pick it up and put it straight in the bin without having to sweep anything. A few pieces of decorative moulding will give me that wrought iron look that I'm after, and a couple of timber buttons will look just like hand-forged rivets. Now, as far as the door goes, it's made of cedar. Cedar's pretty good outside, especially if you look after them. So a couple of coats of undercoat, getting into all the nooks and crannies, because the only place it's really going to rot is where two pieces of timber join each other like any of these joints. Now, to change this from a white timber door to a rusty gate, I'm using Dulux's Design Rust. Now, it's a two-part system. I put 2 coats of this on. I need to leave it for 12 hours in between coats. Now, the magic. Because this has got metal fines in it, I'm presuming this has got an acid in it, but Dulux are pretty tight-lipped about what's in it. 2 coats of this, you should see something change relatively quick, and it'll keep changing just like a real piece of metal that's rusted. After the undercoat, and then waiting for the 2 base coats of this rust paint to dry, and then putting on the final coats. If you're a little bit impatient, now it's okay, because you can speed up the process just by misting it down with water. It's only been on for 5 minutes, and you can already see the rust coming through there, and it's really going to come out and pop. Now, I've just spent the last 24 hours trying to create rust. For this piece, I'm actually going to try and take a little bit off, but I still want the look tortured. I just want to get rid of all the loose, flaky paint, so it's safe around hands and our eyes. I'm actually going to install this when the gate is hung. That way it's a little bit easier to work with. Then you just hang it like any old door, even though it's an old gate now. Now, if you didn't see me make this out of a timber door, you wouldn't know any different. And once you put this in, it is going to look authentic. Now, to keep it in place, I'm going to use some copper brackets, kind of like plumber's ones. The reason why I've gone with copper is they won't rust. Well, it just goes to show what you can do. Everything new is old again, and instantly your garden can have a bit of old world charm about it. The best thing about it, you can make up a story about where it came from. I think it was from the dining room of the Titanic. Or was it from the captain's quarters of the Endeavour?
Next, the magnificent grand estate that is a spectacular labour of love. Welcome back. It's been a real honour to give you the inside running on the gardens of Australia's grand estates. Now, we have one more garden to show you, and it's an absolute showstopper. By combining simplicity, good form and architectural design, the creators of this garden have spent 20 years, yes, it's a labour of love, converting what was an old cow paddock into an absolute gardening masterpiece. Now, I must admit, the garden is very high maintenance, but it's filled with beautiful flowers and foliage. They call it a little bit of magic, and I couldn't agree with them more. This garden is one of the biggest and the best in the country, but up until now, it's been a hidden secret. Simply because the owner has never allowed cameras to come in and film it. So you're in for a real treat. It is truly a design masterpiece. It's filled with incredible plants and beautiful design ideas that you can use at your place. So come on, an exclusive tour. About an hour out of Melbourne in Gippsland, you'll find Broughton Hall. A short stroll through the birch forest and you're greeted by 300 magnificent acres, 4 of which are fabulous terrace gardens, which gently spills down the hillside. The strong element of the garden's design starts right here at the back of the house. And it's important that these two are relating to each other. The owners and designers of the garden, David and Philip, have worked tirelessly to create what you see here today, and their attention to detail and their plant selection is really quite incredible. Take this valerian, pink and white, they've combined it together and it just spills and cascades down the pathway, softening it off just beautifully. Have a look at the cardoon. You know, it's an ornamental version of the globe artichoke, such a strong silvery statement in a garden. Then you've got the spires of the foxgloves and verbascum. But for me, the real statement on this terrace is that fabulous smoke bush behind me. That's Cotinus and the variety called Grace. Now, they've done something very clever with it. They've let it go unpruned for 8, 10 years or more. And look how beautiful it is. In the early 1900s, white gardens were hugely popular, so why not a pink garden? And if you find something that really works for you, then plant lots of it, like the beautiful tobacco flower, fabulous thing. And up the back, Carabella, a beautiful bush rose, semi-climber, but here as a shrub. Right up the back there is the children's rose. Now, if you don't have a garden and your garden is on a balcony, then grow them in a pot. You've got these beautiful varying shades of dianthus, little carnations or pinks. Now, to lift it, you've got some salvia, and then the white geranium really brightens it up, and the silver dusty miller. So you can have a pink garden in a pot. Of course, every gardener loves a rose, and here at Broughton Hall, they have over 1,000 rose bushes planted. But a lot of people say roses are very difficult to design a garden around. Well, they've come up with a great solution here. You see, in winter, when the roses are becoming dormant, then the perennial and shrub border takes over and becomes the attraction. It's not only the plants that are very architectural, so are some of the structures that have been included, like this formal row of columns here. And the great thing is they then become structures that you can grow beautiful column or pillar roses on, like this fabulous white version of Pierre de Ronsard. It's called Blush. Isn't it a gorgeous thing? Here we have a little bit of artistic flair. It's Broughton Hall's very own logo. It's not only found as a Bucks' parterre, but it's also etched into the glass of the windows on the main house. Again, it's a great example of the dedication of the owners of the garden. Well, I must say, I'm absolutely blown away by the magnificent garden design and the quality of the plants here. Now, I really hope you've enjoyed our exclusive look into the gardens here at Broughton Hall, and you'll be thrilled to know that, yes, it is open to the public during the year. You know, I think Broughton Hall is one of the best gardens in Australia. It's just loaded with passion and dedication and compost. You can see where it's all been applied, and it really shows.
Apart from the passion and obviously the love, the one thing that's common about all the gardens we've shown you today is they're very heavily plant orientated.
If there are any plants that you've seen on today's show and you've fallen in love with them and you want to plant them in your garden, well, go right ahead. You don't need a grand estate to have grand plants.
Now, you've got to be careful what you wish for, because I love gardening, but I don't want to do it every day and all day. So you've got to know how much time you can dedicate to it and how much attention to detail you want to give. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Well, that's true, and you've got to get the right combination of plants to suit your soil and the right placement. Let the plants do the talking. Let the plants create that grandeur. It's fair to say that these fantastic estates are beyond mere mortals like us, but the good thing is great plants are accessible to everyone.
So that's it from us this week. Hope you can join us next time for more Secrets of Beautiful Gardens.
Next time, Secrets of Beautiful Gardens goes Oriental. It's a place of enlightenment. From the formal, structured zen of the Japanese garden,
When it looks this good, it's worth the effort.
to the wild tropical rainforests of Southeast Asia. Here is something I have never seen before in a private garden. We take you inside stunning gardens inspired by the boundless beauty of Asia. And in spring, it's bursting with colour. And discover how Western gardens are adopting Eastern principles to create an Asian fusion perfect for today's lifestyle.
Wow. You could be in a different suburb, maybe even in a different country.